So one of the things that scientists tend to do, or researchers tend to do, is they tend to be rather pessimistic about the world. They sort of view the world negatively and see all of the problems that exist, and that is a really good thing. I think understanding that the world is complicated, that there's many moving parts, that things don't necessarily always work out in a positive way, and that there's risks of pursuing different actions. I think that that is really, really important, and we need to sort of, heed the conversation or listen to the warnings that often scientists put out. Right? We hear all sorts of different warnings about, climate change, pandemics, a lot of different, things that we've heard in the last few years. Health scares, for example, a lot of things are very important. Um, but, one of the problems I think with the career, what ends up happening is that you become overtly fixated on the negative. And what's important to sort of take a step back every once in a while and recalibrate. And this is my own experience, right? You sort of see all of the negative that's out there. You need to take a step back and remove yourself from the situation and realize that you're only a small piece in the puzzle and you can't necessarily change a lot by the things that you actually do, right? And the only thing that you could do is just have your say and then move on from there. And so, having somewhat of a belief that the world can get better, I think is really positive. And the way that I look at that, right, is I just simply look at the long run trends. That some long run trends are a little scary, right? Like looking at temperature change, global temperature changes. They're pretty scary when you see them. However, I'm also knowing, or you also see that we've had all sorts of scares and different things in the past that have been very alarming. That we've somehow somebody has come up with a solution in some sort of way. And now you might sort of presume that this is the one area that we can't come up with a solution. That might be the truth, and it could be dangerous, right? But at the same time, I simply have to keep coming back to the idea that there's always a way that's found, right? Somebody always identifies something in almost all circumstances, and we get out of that mess, right? And there's been all sorts of catastrophes, all sorts of problems, and somehow we get out of that mess. Now, the thing is that doesn't mean a lot of people are not going to get hurt. It doesn't mean that there are troubles that you're going to experience and political unrest and all of this kind of stuff, right? Like all of those things are very real and they're very important things. However, um, if you look at the long run, generally there is improvement in many areas in what we actually do as humans. Even when you look at sort of in the environmental, not necessarily the general environmental impact because our population is growing, but in general, if you look at what we actually do, things are getting better. We're making much more of a conscious decision about the things that we consume, or it's not necessarily the consumers, I don't think, are nearly as conscious about it. Some are, but I think most people don't care. I think if you look at it, it's manufacturers have vastly improved. The regulatory, regimes have greatly improved in many places around the world. Not always, but they do, right? And that's what you have to sort of focus on is that yes, things can be bad and there's a lot of sort of negative stuff, but at the same time, if you look at the long run, and that's what I'm always concerned about is the very long run, say 30, 40, 50 years. it's hard to find something that we're not doing better in than we were 30 or 40 or 50 years ago. So longevity is a little less than what it used to be, but most of us still live a long age. And if you remove some of the impact of, COVID, and as well as drug abuse, and you just focus on that smaller portion, um, we still live a pretty good long life. Now, I'm not suggesting that we should not pay attention to those two things. They're very important. But what I'm suggesting is that to keep optimistic, to keep sort of your view that things are continuously getting better, and that the things that we actually do and the things you say actually does have some impact in the long run. In the short run, it does not. There's such subtle changes that happen. But in the long run, I think if you have that view, things do get better, and we have to just wait until the conversation, the long run conversation changes. And that's the only thing that you can really do, right? Is sort of focus on the positive as much as we possibly can to keep going, get up, and just pursue the things that you need to pursue. All right, take care and have a wonderful day.